What people of non-color misunderstand with the people of color is it's not the history is the problem. History is a great problem, but we want to know the history. The history is dramatic. It's violent. It's unbelievable that people can live in that time period on both sides and exist in that time period. It's horrible, but we should always know the history. We should always know how we got where we're at, where we came from. But the the situation is not the history. It's not the history that upsets people of color so much. It does upset us. It's the carryover of the history. That's what's upsetting. It's denial and carryover and continuation of mistreatment. Not at the same level as it was, 20, 40, 50, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. It's not the same level, but it still exists. And that denial is upsetting. And the secrecy of it, where you're alone in a situation, whether it's with the police, in the workplace, in a public setting where you're going to a retail store or something, and there's this mistreatment, and the only people that know about this mistreatment is you and the person that's attempting to mistreat. So you're making a stand, you're fighting, whatever it is. So that's what brings up frustration, possible anger, is this continuous denial, this continuous hypocrisy or double standard when dealing with people of color. Like every time you see a situation with police and you see this abuse, it brings up the anger or the frustration because it's still going on. At some level, it's still going on. It's not that people look back, 50 years, 100 years and say, oh yeah, I'm angry for that. It's not the case. It's upsetting to read about that history. It's just that in the present moment, whatever your emotions are in this moment of what you're experiencing right now, that's where the frustration is. That's where the anger can come into place. I did a video, and this is a part 2 of that video, but I did a video about how people of non-color are afraid, some people of non-color are afraid of possible retaliation from people of color from all the history. It's not possible. There's not that much anger there. There's not that, first of all, it wouldn't be allowed. But there's not that much anger. The anger is only from the moment. Like I know people get really scared when you see riots and you see protesting, particularly with the Black Lives Matter movement. But that's not an indication that people are about to get upset and get violent, because people get real afraid when they see Black Lives Matter marching or people marching. Some people do. It's not an indication of some sort of uproar with people of color and there's going to be this violence. It's not that. The Black Lives Matter or those kind of movements or the protests, you're just making a stand. But the frustration, though, in that moment, that's what we're doing right now. If we lived in a society where, and we will get to that point, but if we lived in a society where, their police treated people of color the same way as they treated people of non-color, that would ease that tension tremendously. If we live in a society where the unemployment rate was the same among people of color and non-color, tensions would ease. If on the job, where you worked on the job, you were seen, people of color were seen and treated as valuable and paid the same, promoted the same, it eases that tension that's there. You can't erase history, and who wants to erase the history? But the history is a reminder. It's not the problem. It's a reminder of what's going on now. So as long as we keep having these situations with police brutality, people of color struggling in the workplace, education, voter suppression, well then people are going to continually bring up that history, because the history is what brought us to this moment. They're going to continually bring up the history, and it's this, and in that case, it's just going to rile people up just a little bit. But that's all I got.